now 6 minutes and 15 seconds. He says, one of the most morally reprehensible and irresponsible and disgusting things I can imagine anyone saying. He says that friendship becomes more difficult or possibly impossible when every individual has private property. He thinks that that makes friendship impossible or more difficult.
Because it's your property.
Because it's your property, he says, that separates you from others in some ultimate way. Unless you can share so you own nothing individually, he says. Well, then there's this barrier to friendship. Well, I'll just drop some real-world evidence in real quick. It is in capitalist societies that people share. It is in socialist and communist societies that it is just an orgy of bloodletting and getting what you can from the next guy and demanding bribes every step of the way if you've got the power to demand a bribe. I mean, you have to bribe your way. You don't anymore. Soviet Union's fallen apart. But you used to have to bribe your way into a restaurant. The guy would unlock the door and let you in if you had some rubles for him. You had to bribe. You're still in India today. You have to bribe some official or 5 officials or 20 officials to get a driver's license or whatever else. Or you can go through the government and actually do it. But why do it when you can bribe for cheaper and quicker? That is what you get when everyone shares everything in the democratic socialism of India or Soviet Russia. And what about everyone in North Korea sharing everything, where people lie on the street and starve to death because there's not enough food? Is that when you do away with private property, people share more? What an idiot. What an irresponsible idiot to say that kind of crap. That's morally reprehensible of him. And it is in capitalist societies where people build supermarkets that anyone can walk into any time of the day, 24/7. If you violate the place or something, they'll call the police, but otherwise you're welcome to pay for something and walk out. You don't have to have a shirt and a tie. You do have to have a shirt on, but you don't have to be well dressed or anything. This is where people share what they have in the West, not in places where they do away with private property, because then everyone hates everyone, and everyone is the despiser of everyone else who has possibly more property than him, because no one's allowed to have their own property. So he's got it exactly backwards, and he's absolutely ignorant of reality, which a little more evidence would do him well here, if he's spouting crap like that. Now at 7:35, here's why I only went and watched this as a request that I go watch this particular video. I can't stand Thou Art That. He says that the body is a manifestation of the soul. The shape the body takes, what we see the body as, is a reflection or manifestation of the soul. And he garbles that up with the word idea somehow. There isn't a soul. There's nothing the soul can do because it doesn't exist. It's not involved in any way. And this is like arguing how many angels can stand on the head of a pin. There's no way to win or lose. And this is, like I said, a good metaphor for Thou Art That is, what's he doing with his brain? Well, some of us are getting on in the world and producing something and using our brain, and the thought calories that move through our brain go towards some end in some productive way. Whether you make furniture at a furniture store or you're going to run a school, whatever, to use your brain for something is much better than to use it like as if you put it inside of a box that's all dark inside, and then you stand around wondering whether or not you have a brain. And you spend hours and days talking about whether or not you've got a brain. That's a really good metaphor for what Thou Art That does. Take your brain out so you can't think, then try to ask yourself whether or not you have a brain. This is why video responses are impossible as well to this particular person and these type of people, because you can't do a response video to a core idea, as somebody called it, or I would call it an essential thesis of a video. You can't respond to that because they don't have one. They throw so much garbage and crap in there along the way. He starts out saying we need a new or a regurgitated or resuscitated form of the world of forms and Platonic ideas, and then he goes off on all kinds of stuff not related to the topic. Now he says the root of Plato's philosophy, the difference between the two realms or whatever, heaven and earth, is probably because when Plato went into the mystery cults, he was given some drug that gave him a death rebirth experience. No, the thing that gave Plato that idea, and the Greeks generally this idea, even Aristotle partook of this idea, was the fact that they couldn't give exact events for what was going on in the sky, even though they did their very, very best, and they did pretty darn good by the 300s AD, but we're talking about Plato and Socrates 300 or 400 BC. They said that the heavens up there are perfect. Aristotle said that they're perfect crystalline spheres that never change. And down here on earth things do change. We know things do change, but things up in heaven are eternal and do not change. So it was because of their inability to model the heavens, yet they understood the heavens were acting in very predictable and mathematical ways, yet with intricacies that were just not within the grasp of mankind to ever understand. Because the only way you can get into the higher realm of things is by pure thought that's divorced from this world. That's straight Plato right there. So no, he didn't get it by tripping on drugs. He got it from the Greek understanding of the planets, and they got that from over 1,000 years of records from Babylon. The Babylonians were just writing down when the stars set in the moon and everything every night for a long, long time, thinking they were messages from the gods. The Greeks get this, they go over it, they see that there's order there. They start predicting stuff, they start giving theories about the things. They called the planets planetos, which means wanderers, because they move across the background of the star background itself. But as accurate as their understanding from all that data could get, it was never able to get quite far enough to really be sure when or this or that event would take place, where the moon would come up on what day, when an eclipse would happen. That's one thing they were really obsessed with, was eclipses. So it's simply not being able to figure out exactly what's going to happen each night with the stars that gave them their original clue that the heavens up there are in some way better than what's going on down here, or different in some essential way. And the Greeks decided that the way that that is different is that heaven is perfect and earth is not, or is less so, not from a drug trip. So that's near the end of his video. I'll check the last 20 seconds to see. Just to finish it off, he says that perhaps there's a larger arc of experience that we can experience through death and into birth or rebirth or something like that, right? It's best not to even go down that road. There is no afterlife, and what you're doing, sir, is distracting yourself from the world that you live in and where you can be happy and can have some understanding and can come into some contact with the universe that you are raised from. He says earlier at some point in the video, he says the universe comes to understand itself through thought. That is a garbled and bizarre idea, but it's approximately something that Carl Sagan said. He said when we are alive, it means that stardust is thinking about itself. When we consider ourselves, stardust is considering itself. Yeah, we are stardust. Most of the stuff in our bodies and the stuff that our chemistry depends on had to be cooked up in the explosions of stars. But this life and this world is all there is. Don't be joking yourself about any metaphorical birth when your heart stops. That will be that, and you won't even be around to be sorry that you were sitting here doing nothing with your brain on earth while you were alive.